I'll never forget the night it all came crashing down, and the way one sentence ripped through me like glass. We were sitting at a long oak dining table, plates half full, the chandelier glowing above us like a spotlight on a stage I never auditioned for. That's when her voice cut through the clinking of forks. She's just an ATM for us. It was Helen, my husband's ex-wife, leaning back in her chair, smirking as she jabbed her manicured fingers straight at me like I was some fraud caught red-handed. My skin burned. My chest tightened, but I stayed still. Across from me, the twins, Caleb and Chloe, barely 18, cracked smug smiles, echoing their mother's disdain without saying a word. I felt my husband Richard tense beside me. He pushed his chair back so hard the legs screeched against the floor. "That's enough, Helen. Don't you ever speak to her like that." His voice was sharp, almost trembling with anger, but I knew it wasn't strong enough to pierce the armor she'd built with years of venom. I sat there with my fork frozen mid-air, my breath shallow. It wasn't the first time. I'd been called the maid, the help, the black stepmother who only provided. But this, in front of everyone in a house I'd helped build after more than a decade of sacrifice, it cut deeper than any blade. You want to know how I got there? Let me take you back. My name is Naomi, and for 13 years I poured myself into a family that never really wanted me. I met Richard when I was 29, a rising financial analyst who thought love could conquer prejudice. He was kind, a little weary, raising 2 kids alone after Helen had walked out when they were only 5. She couldn't handle the pressure, he said, but I later learned the truth. Her family never accepted him marrying a black woman, and she folded under it. So I stepped in. I wasn't just their stepmother. I was the one packing lunches at 6 a.m., staying up all night when fevers hit, shuffling between work and parent-teacher meetings with a smile that hid my exhaustion. I skipped vacations, missed out on luxuries, and built a college fund brick by brick, $500,000. Sitting in an account I alone had worked for. My quiet promise was that Caleb and Chloe would never struggle no matter how they saw me. But kids listen, don't they? And Helen, when she slithered back into their lives a couple years ago, fed them poison dressed as love. Soon they were parroting her lines. "Don't invite your cousin Mariah. She doesn't fit our image, or we're lucky we don't rely on black relatives." I swallowed it all, praying my devotion would outweigh their prejudice. Then came the graduation. The auditorium was buzzing, everyone clutching cameras and programs, but I sat stiff in the 3rd row, hands folded so tightly I left marks on my palms. Caleb and Chloe were valedictorians. My pride should have been soaring, but my stomach churned. When Caleb walked to the microphone, his voice steady, I thought maybe, just maybe, he'd acknowledge me. He looked over the crowd, then smiled at Helen sitting front row in her gleaming white suit. "Thank you to my real mother for being the pure inspiration guiding me all these years." The word pure sliced me in half. Then Chloe leaned in, eyes glinting. "We're grateful we didn't have to rely on certain black relatives," she said with a smirk. The audience shifted uncomfortably, whispers spreading, but the applause still thundered. My ears rang, my heart pounded, and for the first time in years, I felt invisible in plain sight. Richard clapped weakly beside me, whispering, "They don't mean it like that," but his eyes betrayed guilt. I stared at the stage while Helen dabbed fake tears, collecting applause for a role she'd never played. Every sleepless night, every overtime hour, every sandwich packed, reduced to nothing. That night, when the house was dark and silent, I sat at my desk, the glow of the screen, painting my face in cold light. My fingers hovered as I pulled up the account. $500,000. Every cent from my paychecks, every sacrifice mine alone. And I thought, why am I pouring this into ungrateful soil? My mind went to Mariah, my niece. 22 working part-time at a bookstore while carrying dreams bigger than her paycheck. She wanted to teach to build classrooms where Black kids felt seen, heard, empowered. I had quietly helped her mom and brother after their father passed, and they had nothing but gratitude. That gratitude had sustained me when my own stepkids turned cold. I scrolled through Mariah's posts that night, pictures from literacy centers, workshops, rallies, her captions full of hope and determination. And it hit me. My money could actually change a life that would ripple out to hundreds of kids. That's when the idea began to root itself in my chest. Still, I wasn't ready to act. Not yet. I arranged a dinner a week later, one last chance. I invited Helen, the twins, even Mariah. I set the table under fairy lights in the backyard, grilled chicken fresh salad, everything perfect. My heart pounded with hope that maybe, just maybe, love could break through. But Helen arrived first, her blonde bob stiff, her lipstick red and sharp. Caleb and Chloe trailed behind in jeans and smirks, eyes darting toward Mariah with disdain. The second she walked in, simple blouse, warm smile, I saw their lips curl. We sat. Richard tried steering talk toward college plans, but it didn't last. Chloe scoffed. Mariah's little teaching dream doesn't really belong in our world, does it? Helen snorted, adding, dreams are for people who fit proper society. Then she turned her fire on me. Her finger jabbed like a dagger. You're nothing but a black thief robbing our family. I froze, my chest clenched. Caleb laughed. Yeah, that fund's wasted on outsiders like her. Chloe leaned forward, eyes narrow. Black people like you don't belong at this table. The words hit like bullets. My fork clattered to the plate. But before I could speak, Richard slammed his hand down, voice shaking the night. Enough, Naomi is the heart of this family, and your racism stops here. For a second, silence. Then Mariah, God bless her, lifted her chin and said, steady as stone, education is how we break people like you. The table went dead quiet. Helen's face paled. The twins looked away. I looked at Mariah, tears stinging my eyes, admiration swelling inside me. In that moment, I knew. That night, after everyone left, I opened the laptop. My fingers didn't shake this time. I transferred the fund. All of it. From the twins' account to Mariah's. Done. Irrevocable. The fallout came fast. Helen's voice shrieked through the phone the next morning. You black thief, you stole our future. She ranted about suing me, but the account was mine, every dollar from my own sweat. I hung up before her poison could seep any deeper. The twins stormed into the living room later, demanding answers, their faces twisted with rage. You had no right. That was ours, Caleb yelled. Chloe screamed. Why does some black outsider deserve it? Richard stood between us, his voice thundering. It was never yours. It was Naomi's sacrifice, and you never showed gratitude. The room crackled with chaos until Caleb blurted something that shattered the air. I heard Mom say it. She left us because she didn't want black blood in her family. Chloe gasped the truth, hitting her like a slap. The foundation of their loyalty crumbled, and for the first time they looked at me not with scorn, but with shame. In the days that followed, Helen's world collapsed. Old lawsuits of her racial discrimination at work resurfaced online, viral in hours. She lost her job, her reputation, her pedestal. The twins stopped answering her calls. She ended up alone, drowning in the poison she had brewed. Meanwhile, Caleb and Chloe got their first taste of the real-world community college. Part-time jobs, slurs thrown at them in workplaces where privilege meant nothing. Slowly they softened. Caleb apologized in fragments. Chloe cried after volunteering with Mariah, realizing how cruel she had been. Growth came, but it was too late to undo the past. Richard and we didn't make it. He loved me, but love alone couldn't heal years of cracks. We divorced quietly with tears and regret. He joined support groups working to confront his silence, promising to be better, even if it was too late for us. 2 years later, I sat in the front row of another graduation. Mariah, in her cap and gown, her brown skin glowing under the lights, walked the stage. When she took the microphone, her voice carried across the hall. "I dedicate this to the woman who believed in me when no one else did, my Aunt Naomi." I cried then, unashamed, because this time my sacrifices weren't invisible. They were alive in her, in the classroom she was building and the children she would uplift. Richard was there, sitting a few rows back, nodding quietly, regret in his eyes but respect in his heart. Caleb and Chloe, too, no longer arrogant but humbled, volunteering alongside Mariah, learning what gratitude actually looked like. And me, I sat taller, heart lighter, because I had finally learned blood doesn't define family, gratitude does. So now I'll ask you, was I wrong for cutting off the twins? Was it betrayal or was it justice? Have you ever given everything to people who never valued it? Tell me your thoughts in the comments, because stories like this don't just happen to me. They happen everywhere. And if you've ever been underestimated, overlooked, or told you didn't belong, remember, you can rewrite the ending. Subscribe for more stories like this one, and let's talk about it. What's your take? Was justice served, or should family always come first?